Hello, my name is Eduardo Saéz de Cabezón. I'm a mathematician. I'm a professor in mathematics. So my life is mainly research, teaching, and science communication. And I would like to speak about some dangers I have identified by doing science communication as a scientist. The main one is the excess of information. We overinformate, is that a word? We tend to give an excess of information to the people because we love science, we like it, we know a lot about that. People usually come to listen to us, they love science, they want to hear from us, and science is so beautiful, math is so beautiful that we want to give as much as possible. Let me give you an example of how this can be bad. Imagine I come from a wine region in Spain, and I can have a guest say that I want to impress by giving some wine in a dinner. So I select a very good wine, a beautiful wine from the region. I know about wine, and I choose a particularly good wine to impress my colleague. So I ask the sommelier at the restaurant to give a nice wine. We have 2 glasses of wine, and I open it, smell it, okay, it's a perfect wine, I love it. So I pour the whole bottle of wine into my colleague's glass. So filling the glass, the wine spreading over the table, over my colleague, his or her dress is completely ruined. So I have spoiled the wine, I have spoiled dinner, I have spoiled our friendship probably. This person will probably not want to have dinner with me anymore. And that's sometimes what we do. We have an excellent wine, we have an excellent content, excellent information, we love it, it's nice, it's beautiful, science is great. We know a lot, we have a lot of wine, we know a lot about that. And our partner, our audience, is expecting us to give them this wine. So they are waiting for it. But we give them too much, and this ruins everything. So the first thing, and I think it's the main danger we scientists have when talking to the people, is giving too many things, too much information. So my first, advice or experience that I've learned from these years of science communication is precisely this. Just select the pieces of information you want to give, and it's better that people want more. It's better than if people say, oh, bring me another bottle of wine, that was excellent. Or maybe they can say, I can come next week to have dinner with you again. It was excellent, the wine was excellent, the ambient was excellent. So please take care about how much you're telling people. So over-information, this excess of information is probably the main danger I have seen. Second one is to confound the hierarchy of what we are telling people with the focus on our science talks, shows, etc., our communication pieces. And this, how can I tell this? I repeat to myself every morning when I wake up, I say hello to the sun, and repeat to myself, on the top of the hierarchy there is the content, is the science, at the center of the focus is the audience. And this makes a great difference, because we normally use to put the focus on the science or on ourselves. So how good the science is, and we enter into the minimal details and so on, or we just want to show off how much we do know. I am the best expert in this part of science, or the most expert in this part of science. I know a lot of things you don't know. The focus should be on the audience, and this means you need to know your audience. Who are you speaking to? This is pretty obvious, but we sometimes forget about that. So the first thing is trying to know your audience as much as you can. So if you're speaking to children, if you're speaking to people that are already engaged into science, people or general audience, or people who hate science, or the scientists, you get to know them as well as you can, as much as you can, and then you can be prepared to be on focus on, to put the focus on them. And this is very related to something I tend to think when I prepare a talk or prepare a show, is instead of thinking, what is this talk about? My main question is, what do I want my audience to learn from my talk? my talk or my video or my piece of science communication. And this little thing that is pretty obvious, again, makes a whole difference. Because then I can say, well, I want to do a talk about solar system. Okay, what about the solar system and who are you speaking to? But if my question is, what do I want my audience to know about the solar system? I want my audience to know that there are 8 planets in the solar system, or 9 planets, or 10 planets, or whatever, or what is the name of the star at the center or whether there is an asteroid belt in the solar system. What is that I want them to know? And then I can, it will come immediately. But do these people already know this? Or maybe it's too difficult for them? Or who are the people that I want to meet and what do they need to know in advance? So asking the question about the topic of my talks or my communication pieces, if doing it in this second flavor, I always tend to think of the audience first. And my focus is now on the audience, but at the same time, at the top of the hierarchy is the science I'm speaking about. So I think these are the 3 things, the 3 main things I have learned from my career, from my experience in science communication. I said at the beginning that I'm a scientist, I'm a mathematician, I'm a working mathematician, so I do research and teaching. Is science communication useful for me as a researcher and as a teacher? Definitely yes. And this is not just saying. As a scientist, because you will know that when you do science, you focus on a little corner of your topic or your science, and in this topic you're the best specialist in the world, probably, but you know a little bit. And it's the same for me. I do homology of monomial ideals in commutative algebra, whatever. But doing science communication, I have a broad view of mathematics. And this is very useful for me as a researcher, because then I know different techniques and different concepts that are connected to each other. And this I wouldn't know, or at least I wouldn't know as easy as if I wouldn't do this science communication. And as a teacher, the main advantage is that I learn how to speak about the same topic in different ways to different people. And in my class, in my lecture hall, I have different people, always. There's not the same kind of people, so I can somehow, I gain the experience to detect how people are and how can I connect with different types of persons. So if you're starting a career as a researcher or you want to be a professor, become a professor, I think science communication is very useful because it gives you some skills that you don't learn as a researcher or as a teacher in the everyday practice. So this is what I have to say.